Hi guys, welcome back on the channel. On today's video we're going to do a flick through, although this is a PDF version, of Flower of Chivalry, a guide to the late Middle Ages, published by the Canadian Wargamers group. Now this is a blast from the past. This is a book that many veterans know very well, but it's been quite popular recently and I had many questions about it from younger players, so I decided to do a kind of flick through so we can see what information we have and if it's worth buying. The link will be in the description below, showing you where you can buy. I think it costs $15, a PDF version. So we start by the content, and you have very interesting rules. There is a rule set that is quite decent, I would say, and of course a lot of battles and how can be fought. You can adapt them to the rules that you're playing, and some campaigns ideas. So we'll go and check one by one. So we have an introduction talking about the High Middle Ages, basically the 100 Years' War. It's quite interesting document and a lot of information you get from the author. And then you go to weapons and armor, again, in a very, very interesting section of the book where you're talking about the sword, the lance, the battle axe, the pike, bills and halberds, the mace, the dagger, the crossbow. There's actually very good information for me to make a video, actually, and it's something I'm planning to do. Explains the longbow and the success they had in Hamilton Hill and Chiltern, and how the weapons were used. Again, they're talking about the bassinet and the helmet and the warhorse. It's a very extensive, detailed analysis of armors and weapons during the 100 Years' War. Here's the armor, the shield. Now you talked about strategy and siege tactics, another brilliant section of the book, where you talk about the strategy, you read about the strategy during that period of the time and how sieges worked, a very important part of the 100 Years' War. Again, you talk about tactics, very nice illustrations of castles and moats and the portcullis and everything that a medieval castle was compiled from. And then we talk about strategy, talk about obviously the angled the angled stakes that were protecting the longbowmen, talking about how the armies fought in the Battle of Crécy and giving examples, and in the Battle of Poitiers, and also by wars of it reaches also at the War of the Roses, analyzing the strategy. Then you go to Heraldry. This is another brilliant part of the book. It explains to you how the heraldry was created. Now you have azure, jewels, red, sable, black, and then it continues and it shows here, for example, lines to divide the shields. But here is a very interesting, here, the part down here, where you see how families' coat of arms develop. So you have the family coat of arms. So the son who's the heir kept the same, while the daughter, and not heiress, had a different style, let's say. And then she married with the family coat of arms, and then this was the new family coat of arms, part of the mother and part of the father. The same here, the father married an heiress daughter, and then the coat of arms of the son of the new family coat of arms became a combination of both. So it's very interesting analysis, really something I haven't seen recently to many books. Well, now you have orders of chivalry. You're talking about the Templars, the Order of the Garter and the Order of the Star, the famous orders of the 100 Years' War for the English and the French. And then you go to the Flower Chivalry miniature rules. These are very few pages, and I have to say these rules are really interesting. Why? Because they have a lot of solo potential. It's talking about command figures, the personal challenges, you guys examples, order phase, you have charge, maneuver, react, stand and defend, voluntary retreat. It has examples. There's the action phase, the movement phase, the missile fire. And you have a lot of examples. That's quite good. Just a few pages. And here you have the charts. Now, what is interesting is that depending on the battle chart and what you're rolling, you will have a different strategy. So if you descend, depending on what commander you are, if you're bold or if you're rush, if you're cautious, if you're defensive, if you're prudent, then depending on what it's rolled, I think, if I'm not mistaken, you will have a different reaction accordingly. And then this reactions and these actions will give Battlelust. And when your Battlelust reaches a level of +7, you're exhausted and you're fighting with negative modifiers. So in order for you not to reach this exhausted time, you need to organize your strategy. If you see you're getting exhausted, then you can reduce the Battlelust and avoid your units being exhausted. It's quite interesting rule set, I have to say. Again, you have a fire chart. I can see many rule sets who have been copying this style. So you have a fire chart, and that's a light. And you check the chart and you see what you have to shoot. Moral numbers, this is with percentage. Mali modified numbers, under charge orders, attacking rear, attacking flank, attacking uphill, tired, exhausted. So you see you have two tired and exhausted options, excuse me. Terrain effects, and then army commanders. So you have a buffoon, who has obviously smaller command range than the plodding, efficient, and brilliant. It has different initiative. You have army cards. They're normal card decks, and they are the actions. I don't remember how it plays, but in general, it's a very decent set of rules, I think. Then you go to Wargame scenarios and conversion. This is a really, really good part of the book. Very helpful. Now, the rules use Flower of the book uses Flower of Chivalry rules and Tactica medieval accordingly. So if you're a Tactica medieval player, you can fight these battles immediately. It's already changed. It's already modified. Otherwise, I don't think it's a big problem to fight any type of rules. So you go here, and you have the troop chart, what is for Tactica, what is for DBA equivalent, and what is for WRG 7. So it has a lot of different rule types and how the equivalent of the rule set is for this, of this specific rule set, is for the other rules that probably were very, very popular rules at the time, obviously Tactica and DBA. Then you have Scottish Wars of Independence, where you have famous battles, and there is small article about the history and what was happening. It's a really, really interesting read. And then you have the scenario, Stirling Bridge. It says exactly how many units, how the armies were, the deployment, victory conditions, special rules, key features. Then you have also the map. That's quite good. And then it has what ifs. That's quite interesting, the what ifs. Then you go to Falkirk. Again, the same, all the information regarding the armies, and obviously the map. And then you have Bannockburn, again with the map and the layout. Really, really interesting. Something that I haven't seen recently in books. It's something that is missing from rule sets. Historical reenactments and campaigns. So it's Edward II briefing and Robert the Bruce briefing. So you have your briefings, you have your armies, and you deploy accordingly. And this is Bannockburn. Again, deployment, victory conditions. It has everything you need to. You can adopt it for any rule set, I have to say. Then you have alternative scenarios. I think it's an alternative scenario for Bannockburn, if I'm not mistaken. You're talking about Robert the Bruce as King of Scotland. Another very, very nice, interesting sources in this book. Then you have Neville's Cross, one of my favorite battles, where David II lost. Sir Ralph Neville was the commander. Again, the armies, and obviously here is the map, Neville's Cross, a very famous battle. And then you go to the 100 Years' War, again another briefing explaining the strategy and the history from Edward to Henry V. And the campaign, this is Edward III's 1346 landing to Crecy. This is the Crecy campaign, and I think this is the Black Princess campaign for Poitiers, and here Henry V for Agincourt. I think it's with the smaller dashes. Now you have how you fight Crecy, all the information and the armies, and Philip IV's briefing and Edward III's briefing. Again, the Battle of Crecy, the deployment, Alençon, and Philip shows you exactly deployment, special rules, and some information on Edward III of England. It's an amazing book with so many resources, sources. Poitiers, the Battle of Poitiers, one of my favorite battles. Here it is, Marshals, the Marshals, Dauphin, King John, Audreyham, the English, here is the hedge. Again, special rules. Agincourt, obviously, would not be missing. Agincourt again with all the information on the French and the English deployment, and this is very easily, as I said, adapted to any rule set, and quite a lot of special rules. And here for Agincourt they have Tactica Order of Battle, so you can play tactical directly. Yeah, I know Tactica; it's quite good. So yeah, here is good. So for tactical fans, you have a direct implementation to this rule set. Again, for Tactica, Agincourt, alternative scenarios, Charles the briefing, Henry V briefing. These are very interesting because you're changing the strategy of the Scottish and then of the French, and then you see what ifs. And Henry V, a small background on Henry V of England. Henry V was the epitome of warrior king. Then you have Formingier, a very good, famous battle that, first time you have gunpowder. It's a lot of sources and resources and information. Again, the same Castillon, where we had the end of the 100 Years' War, the last defeat of the English, where you have Sir John Talbot being killed, and all the information and die rolls. Here is Castillon, the map. And this is a very good campaign ideas. Let's read a bit. Various campaigns can be devised using the opposite map. Each turn represents a month. 6 months to a campaign year. Army commanders attempt to move in order of initiative from lowest to highest. Each army commander must roll less than his initiative rating on a 10-sided die in order to move for one province to the neighboring province. When two armies are at the same province, one or both may try to seek contact by again rolling their initiative or less, otherwise battles cannot take place. Each castle has a fortification number. If an enemy army within the province rolls equal or less to the fortification number of the castle, falls to the besieging force. Very simple. It's nice to have simple campaign ideas. One small army of 12 to 20 units under the superior commander carrying out a chevauchée makes a good game. The defenders have a superior force of 30 to 40 units, but they're spread over the land and must be gathered together into an army. The raiders have 6 months to capture castles and rendezvous with the ships at a determined and secret port, or return to a friendly castle. 2 or 3 armies of 12 to 18 units per side, each with a commander-in-chief and 2 wing commanders, seems to work well for a campaign of conquest. All players may want to try a grand campaign with 4 and 6 players, England, Scotland, Wales, France, Gascony and Burgundy. Very interesting campaign, very interesting rules, simple, 6 months, you move around, every castle has, you see here, a number where this is the siege number. I think it's, and the maps are there, you can print them bigger. I think it's perfect. Then we go to Wars of the Roses, where explains the major battles, and you go to, generally speaking, what is happening during the Wars of the Roses. You have Mortimer's Cross. Then you have Barnet. I have no idea about, I mean, I know the battles, but I'm not very familiar with the Wars of the Roses. Again, the same briefing for each army and victory conditional special rules. You have Tewkesbury with the map and all the information required. And you have Bosworth Field. It's a lot of special rules. It's a very well-written book. And then army lists. Here are the army lists that you can use. The rules follow, but you can use any rule set. I mean, you can see nobles, knights, mounted yeomen, horse archers. All these are part of the of any rule set. And here you see the historic deployment. So I think that the number in the dark, in the top, the black, is how many units you have, and then it's a clever idea. It divides how the army is deployed. That's quite good, actually. Let's see if they have it here. For you have a lot of armies, not only high medieval. So if we go and see English historic opponent, Welsh and French, so you have English. So if you had, if you see here, 16 units, you had 3 nobles, 3 knights, 4 men-at-arms, and 6 longbows. For the French, you had 16. The whole army was 16 units. You have 4 nobles, 6 knights, 3 men-at-arms, and 3 crossbows. So that's good because it can be applied in any rule set. A random unit roll d10, and then there's the bibliography. with all the information and the flood of chivalry. And these are the battles. I think it is an excellent book. I think it is has so many information. It has so many battles. It has very interesting campaign ideas. That's why I read to you all the campaign comments. I think it's worth buying. I think it will help you with your battles, and you can find many historical battles with so many information, and also you can try their campaign. The map is it's fine. It's really good. You don't need a better map. So so let's see here. You see. You have Harfleur, Rouen, you can fight the 100 Years' War, you can fight Scottish Wars of Independence, York, Berwick, Lincoln, you have everything there. So I think it's a really, really good book with loads of information. You see what I was reading to you now, and a lot of historical anecdotes and talking about the era, about the armor, about the weapons. You can really learn about the heraldry, another really brilliant part of the book. So I think it's really worth it. I think many of veterans know this book. Hopefully you guys who are new to the hobby, you will enjoy it as we did. Anyway, guys, this is from me, a quick flick through. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye.